Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mind Your Words After Dark. I am your host, Alicia, and with my co-host, Mayra. And today, like many of our episodes, it's kind of like a free-for-all. We kind of go where our spirit wants us to take. And Mayra, she loves her cards. So she pulled some cards today. What are we going to talk about today, Mayra?
Well, the card of the day is death,
Death.
or
Oh,
what we say. Wait, it's blurry. There you go. Death, or what we say in Spanish, la muerte. Um, it's so funny because every time I watch some form of film or TV series, and you always have a tarot reader there. There's definitely, and when the death card appears, it's like doo doo doo. It's
Duh,
like,
right.
oh, what does that mean? And it's like, oh, someone's gonna die. And it's like, no, no, no. That's not what the death card means. God, and I get so upset when they do that. I'm like, oh, no wonder why people are afraid of tarot. Um,
Right.
so it has different definitions, but yes, it is a skeleton dressed in a knight over, on a horse with a black flag with a flower, and there's a priest right in front of him, and he's like praying, or I don't know what he's doing to it, but there's someone laying on the ground. It looks like a king, somebody with a high figure, and then there's children there as well, and they're watching. They're on their knees, they're just watching, but it looks like they might get trampled over as well by the horse, but who knows. But the words are either that it's the end, it's over, nothing lasts forever, a transition,
Mm.
and one phase ends and the next one begins. What do you think about this card? Is there something that comes to
Well,
mind,
I was
Alicia?
just
About
thinking, like, we all of our lives, we all have transitions, and we are maybe you're in the middle of transitioning, but what next step do you want if you're, that's like come in your life and say, this is over. What do you hope your next chapter of your life should be?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, I mean, we all go through death in the sense of the card itself, yes, besides a loved one passing away to the other side, we all go through grief.
Yeah.
It could be loss of anything, but loss of love, right?
Sure.
That's no, that person still probably on earth, but it ends, the end of relationships, the end of marriage, the end of also partnerships as well, businesses ending. I think the death card, sadly, it happened a lot too during COVID. Yes, people died, but businesses died, relationships died, they ended, and it was also a transition phase. It was a phase that was very, nobody knew what to expect. Everybody feared going out, everybody feared talking to someone, but it is, and when the release of the, of that was released, the COVID bans, and people were like, okay, what's next? What do we do? How do we clean this up? How do we move on? And so I think everybody in the world went through this card.
Yeah.
Um, but we go through it all the time. Any transitions, any decisions that you make, this card can affect you. I mean, you can say, for me, um, the transition of moving to England, I lived comfortably in Poland. I enjoyed it. I was making great money. I had great friends. I lived in right next to the old town. I loved it, in the center of it all. And to make that decision to come back to England, to do another master's, to get more in debt, to find a new place and find new friends again, or get in touch with old friends. It was a massive decision, but I did it because I really loved England. I my dream and goal was always to come back. So it is hard to transition. Even you, right? I'm assuming
Oh,
from Warsaw to the US must have been a huge transition for you,
it was
correct?
unbelievable. And even going through my divorce was a transition for me. But, death for me, representing right now, is the death of my old self, really.
Mm, yeah.
I feel like a completely different person after going through the last 15 years. And I'm happy that old self is dead.
Boom.
Boom! I'm good. Goodbye. Adios.
Adios. Here's the nail on the coffin.
It was very stressful time. It was not just my divorce. I went through a lot in the last 15 years, and I grew so much from my experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly. There were many times I suffer from depression and anxiety like most people do, actually. We have to admit that everybody suffers this. And there
Yeah.
were periods in my life where I really wanted to finish it. I'm like, I did never attempted it, but I'm like, if God takes me now, I'm ready. Let's get out of here.
Go.
Gotta go. I'm not gonna say no. Fine. Take me.
Take me now.
Take me out. Yeah, there was moments where I'm like, take me out, God. I'm ready to go. But, obviously God didn't want me to do that. So he's like, no, no, you gotta hang on. You're gotta, go through it. You gotta go through these lessons in your life and you're gonna be stronger. You're gonna be better. My old self, I remember coming to Warsaw. I come from a small little town in Ohio.
Okay.
And, everyone's very kind, very nice. And when I came to Warsaw, it kind of slapped me in the face, like boom. And
Punched.
whoa, wait a minute. There's people playing games with me, mind games. I had to deal with trouble at work, and I had to deal with my past because I'm a dyslexic person and I'm teaching English, so I had to go through like flashbacks of my time in school and moments I remember sitting in the middle of the class and I would blank out and I'm like, oh my God. I think my students were like, are you okay, Alicia? But I was like running in my head, like, oh, I remembered this moment and I was so embarrassed and I'm gonna repeat it here. It was a lot of going. And I went through each trial and it was and we before we came online, Myra pulled another card, the Five of Cups, and it was so doom and gloomy.
Wah, wah.
And we're like, oh no, this is not a time to talk about that. No, no, no.
If we were to talk about it, I start talking about my past of
Yeah,
some
so
ex-boyfriend. So I don't want to do it. No,
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 so
no.
I'm glad that you pulled a second card because we're like, okay, now we know where it's going. We are changing, we're getting better. I'm doing this podcast with you. I'm doing many things online, which I always wanted to do. Like 20 years ago, I wanted to do marketing and I want to do online stuff. And now I'm doing it. It took me 20 years. I had
Yeah.
to go through this life going abroad and coming back and my relationships I had to learn because I grew up without a father and daddy issues was a big deal for me and it was a lot. I went through it all, I think.
Don't worry. You're not the only one. I have daddy issues too,
Yeah,
you know. So
and it's not uncommon that we all have some issues with family. So yeah, I'm actually happy that I went through this period and now it's over. And I'm really looking forward to my future. And I feel positive. I actually feel confident in my life for once. In my 42 years, I finally found myself. And it took that long, right?
it is never too late to be what you might have been. I tell you, I believe in that quote. And I think that's, you mentioned something about dyslexia and being an English teacher. And when I was also doing the same thing, I'm thinking, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I did the CELTA. I don't know. Did you ever do the CELTA?
No, the TEFL.
Oh, let me
I'm
tell
glad
you.
I didn't do that on purpose, really.
Let, let me tell you.
No.
I found the CELTA the most hardest, difficult course in my whole life. Not because I was dyslexic. I don't think that was it.
Sure.
It was day and night, day and night, day and night, living it, breathing it. CELTA, we hardly had any time to say, hey, let's go out and get pissed up. No, no, we had to go home and we had to write this report. And We had report after, so every weekend we had at least 5, 6, 7, 8 pages documents to type up, report. It was huge. And then to prep for the course and then you got to teach. Everyone's watching you. You got 10 people watching you, plus the learners. I'll tell you, that was the hardest course, more harder than both of my master's degrees, most harder than the PhD I was working on.
Right.
I mean, I was losing hair. I was losing clumps of hair. That's how stressed I was.
Yeah.
But it was done, it was completed, and it was such a huge transition because I went from the United States finishing teaching drama in a high school, and I wasn't renewed to teach again on an emergency permit. So I thought, right, what to do? And I just didn't. I just missed Europe. I just missed Europe,
Right.
and I decided to take a big leap of faith and go. You know what? Poland looks like it's easy to get visa to work there. I'm going to Poland, and everyone was like, "What?
Right.
What's in Why
Why?
Poland?
Right.
Why Poland?" I was like, "I don't know. Let's just it's not too far from you. It's not too far from the United Kingdom. It's like a 2 hour plane ride.
Yeah.
It's all right.
For us, it's like nothing. They're like, good.
We're in Europe. That's
Yeah,
all that
Europe is
matters.
everything's close.
So it's that close. That's how close it is. And I cannot believe how I took that leap of faith and I loved it. I love and I look back at Poland and I can't believe I lived there and experienced. I can't believe it's been already 10 years. Um, and I loved it. I loved every moment I had in Poland. And speaking of, you were saying also earlier about you never felt there was a moment that, okay, God, take me. Oh my God, there has been a moment in my life, only one in my life where I just could, I just wanted it to stop. The thinking, the noise,
The
the
noise.
heartache.
My gosh.
And I went. It was in Poland, odd enough. And I went to the Wisła, and I was thinking of swimming it.
Oh,
And I just wanted to feel numb. I
yeah.
don't think I wanted to die.
No, just to
I just
numb.
I just
Mm,
wanted to feel numb, cold. I didn't want to feel anything.
yeah.
And I went there. I lived not too far from the visa. I lived like a 5 minute walk, like 3 minute walk. And I
Right.
stood there and I called my mother
Hmm.
and or my sister. And they hardly answered the phone. And they answered the phone that day.
Wow.
They said, "Hey, how is it going?" And I cried.
Oh,
And I said, I was just thinking of doing something stupid.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think I would have done it, to be honest. Who knows? That's why maybe I
Yeah.
called.
Yeah. No, but you were thinking about it, right? So,
Yeah, I just wanted it to go, but you know, it was that transition. It was over, right?
sure.
The relationship was over. It ended. As to the real reason why, I don't know.
Oh,
But it was like, you give yourself and you give yourself to so much, and then that was it. And it's like, who do I give myself to? And it felt empty. But, I picked myself up bit by bit, like this transition, the one phase ends, the next one begins. I started running again. Definitely. I think that's where I picked it up the most. I started, going to tango I think it was on a Sunday night or Saturday night, I can't recall. Going to the jazz clubs on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, just up my street. And I started to socialize more and more and started to realize this is my life. This is the next phase, like you can't just dwell in it. You have to transition. It's a hard transition. Transitions are hard. They're not easy.
absolutely. And there are
Um,
many. There's so many of
mm,
them. You reminded me like I also had many hard times. This is where Warsaw was the one where I thought these things. It's
yeah.
amazing. I feel like I don't know. It's another topic, but there are places in the world that brings your karma back. And I really felt like that happened to me in Warsaw. I'm like, karma was like, let's let her test everything here in Warsaw. Let her
Yeah.
experience all the one that she need to experience right here. So I remember, okay, talking about transitions, there's small ones in your life, like pets, like even people who come temporarily to your place in your life. So my low period in Warsaw, I decided to buy Goldfish.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, I was so depressed actually. I almost did not come back to Poland actually. And I said I need to come back and prove that I can do it. Like I can still teach, I can still live abroad, I can deal with the toxic people, and I'm gonna do it by taking care of fish.
All right.
So I bought these tiny little goldfish. They look like they were barely alive, And I'm like, I'm gonna take care of you too. You're gonna live, and I'm gonna live here.
I'm your mama.
I'm your mama now. And they grew up to be beautiful goldfish. Like they were my babies. And then I met my future husband. Okay. And he didn't know how to take fish. He didn't care really. And I went back to the United States for 1 month and he was supposed to take care of the fish. And when I came back, they literally died like the day I arrived. And I
Oh,
was so devastated, and he felt bad, of course, animals in your care, dying in your care is really traumatizing. But I was so devastated because they were representing for me they kept me going, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
And then I switched it to my husband.
Yeah.
But no, he represented a lot of change in my life too because he destroyed a lot of things in my life. It was not just my fish. He started with my fish and
Wow.
it continued. And I was really hoping that that cycle was not continuing, but I can go through what he destroyed in my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
really. But yeah, these little experiences, they're small. I had them for only 3 years, these beautiful goldfish. They were like the party center of my parties. Everyone's like, wow, your fish are so sociable. And I'm like, you have no idea how long I spend time with them, you know?
Oh,
They were my friends.
you
I
spoke
was
to them.
really close to them. Vars and Shava was their names, and they were beautiful goldfish. I missed them. But you know, that's a life lesson, So they came for a short time when I needed them and they left when my life changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it
No,
happened.
it is crazy. And it's kind of like I left someone a plant as well. It's very
Uh-huh.
similar, kind of. I had it for years. It looked beautiful, big. And I think I gave it to a friend of mine and she said it died. And I was like, what? How can it have died?
Right. How can
How
you
can it
kill
have
it?
died?
It's a plant.
How can it have died? It was so beautiful.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, it is sad. And I think, yeah, and it was also a transition in my life. So I think those are the signs, isn't it? When something
Yeah.
happens that it's an eye opener and kind of the death card, I guess, also when people pass away,
Mm,
you do start to realize, okay, do you live longer? I mean, how, going to eat healthier? Are you going to appreciate every day of your life? And funny enough, um, it's a story of a friend. It's not my story, but
sure.
um, she, okay, how can I say this? She had a love, her first love, and they were ups and downs, and they kept in touch, and she moved on, and he moved on. And then there was a funeral. It was like a friend that they shared,
Mm,
that they went to school together. And so she showed up. And then he was there. Her first love was
mm.
there as well. And they started talking again after years of not talking. And it turns out that that death got them back together. It just somehow that moment that they met, and she had a feeling he would be there. And I said, okay, be ready, be prepared to how you're going to face this person, right?
Yeah.
And then, he reciprocated the talk and they just started talking and they kept in touch and they're now married with a baby, and
Gosh.
it's just amazing how, wow, she was going through a period in her life. And it's not just them. There's another friend as well that they were, both divorced and they got back together. First loves. It's just amazing the transitions and how the phases end. Like you may think that, it's over, something's over, but something better will come along.
Absolutely.
Something amazing will happen. And it may not be the way it is. I mean, sometimes it does take a couple of ugly fishes you got to kiss to get to the real
I
one.
love my fishies.
Too many, yeah, not your fishies. Your fishes were
No.
beautiful, but a couple of ugly fishes.
Yeah, a few.
A few,
Yeah.
a lot of fishes. To find the right one, it's not just also expected that a divorce or a death or a new beginning, a move to another town, whatever it is,
Right.
that you're gonna find relationships and bond. But there's a reason why things happen, and I don't know if I am a believer that things are meant to happen. Um, I think in certain places they do, sometimes they don't, but you never know. But I think it's just that death card, like the ending of transitions, and then nothing lasts forever. I didn't think I would live in America. Funny story. I used to go to a tarot reader when I was a teenager, when I was in college and uni, and I went to one lady, and she read me the cards, and she said, "You're not going to be here forever in
Hmm.
in America. You're going to go far east, like east." She was pointing towards like New York or out there east,
Yeah,
but
right.
I think she was thinking I will be away.
Away.
She said, "This is not where you're staying. This is LA, California. It's not meant for you to stay here."
Yeah.
And I was like, "This lady is crazy. I love Santa Monica. I
Right.
want to be a hipster, hippie girl on the pier,
No
loving
way I'm
it,
leaving. Yeah.
on Santa Monica Boulevard." And there I was 4 years later on a plane.
Yeah.
And it didn't. And again, transitioning to a different town, different city. I also came from a small town, to the big city of London. And oh, believe me, that was like in
Yeah,
your
right?
face.
I can imagine London. Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So there you
Yeah, it's
go.
a shock for our little country girls where everyone's like, hey, how are ya? And you're like, bitch, get out of my way.
Yeah. What do you want?
Well, go
What do you want
away.
from me?
Jeez.
What money do you want from me? What do you want?
Yeah,
I
right.
just said I just said good
Well, hi.
morning.
Yeah,
Anyways.
unbelievable. Yeah. Well, transitions.
Transitions. But I think overall, to end it, like, the death card, it happens to all of us. We all go through something, promotions or good things or family reunions or whatever it is. It's like one phase to a next. And I think, life is like that, isn't it? It's always going to be ups and downs, and that's what we have to prepare in life. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
this death card, if anybody does tarot, it's not the end. It's not to say that someone's dying. It's just a transition of life.
Sure.
uh, it's moving now. It's gone. It's over. Now it's time to move on to something new.
And I have to mention to end it up here, we were talking about God take me. It's okay to ask. And then maybe that's the sign that you need to ask and say, now what? Because, I asked that so many times and I got my answer. And it took me, I'm like, I was ready to quit. I was ready to drop everything. And I said, okay, now what? And I just took it, whatever came to me, because I put it out there in the universe, it's just saying, help me. And it's okay. It's okay to doubt what's your purpose. It's okay to doubt where you are. This is the whole point. I think that's point of life is that you're supposed to experience different situations based on your decisions, based on, you know, fate. Sometimes whatever comes your way, it's meant for you to learn. And, when you're as a child, when you were learning something like riding a bike, you fall down many times. You get scratched up, you get beaten up. By me. I was always getting beaten up by riding my bicycle, and I would pick it up. I would cry. And then I said, okay, maybe tomorrow. And I would do
Maybe.
it again tomorrow. And that's the whole point. Just take it one day at a time. It's okay. It's okay to doubt what you're doing, but try. Try again. until you will see the purpose of what you experience. And actually, it's an amazing experience when you realize, wow, I like my divorce, which is still pretty much in my life, it still affects me. But every day I think to myself, like, wow, if I didn't experience that, I would not be who I am now. And I wouldn't be, so I would be still working in my insurance company job, you know, selling
Yeah.
home and auto insurance instead of pursuing my dream now, you know. And I got that motivation because I ended it. I ended the death of my marriage. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, let me try to do what I want to do this time, you know, and I'm doing it. And I'm every morning now I have that motivation. You know, of course I sort of suffer from depression and anxiety still, but that's slowly disappearing because now I have a passion to do what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, I am ready. Tomorrow I'm going to try this and it's going to be some, I may mess up, but hey, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so don't get stuck in the situation you are in. You know, it's very easy to get into that tunnel vision and say, this is the life I'm gonna have, and I'm finished. I am finished.
Done.
Done. Yeah, but it doesn't work that way. You're not done. So don't get stuck into that narrow mind. You know, death will come, death will end that bad period. You're gonna learn from it, and you're gonna be better off from it. So that's that.
True. True. No, and to end it, you said, ask.
Yeah.
Ask the universe. If you believe in God, ask in God. He answered so much when I was 18 in
Yeah.
deciding what university I was going to go. I had been accepted God, I got accepted to great universities, and I picked one that I felt was home for me, and all my hard work, all the effort I did in high school to get there, and I think that's, in any decision making like that, you sometimes just leave it to the universe and say, okay, right, this is what it is.
Right.
But whether religious or not, I mean, I lost God, I felt, when I lost that relationship.
Yeah.
Um, and because I gave so much to them, that I felt, what is there out there? And but
Yeah.
you know what? It took me time to mend the pieces and mend my relationships, even with God, and I realized, yes, somebody's out there in the universe. If it's God, if it's spirits, or whoever is guiding you. And I feel like I've now come to that transition of believing in that again,
Yeah.
and believing in the spirit and the universe. So it does take that transition. And death is hard. Death is not easy.
Oh no.
And when it's over, it's over. But it's picking up the pieces slowly. And maybe that's why the Five of Cups came out first,
Uh-huh.
because it's kind of grieving, it's a loss, and then it's over. So it's, I think, yeah, these cards are trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
So
It's actually a very good message. You know,
yeah,
you're gonna go through those phases where you're grieving. You're gonna feel like on the bottom of the grave. You're waiting for the guys who dig to bury you in it.
yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, hey, you're not dead yet. Keep going. Keep,
Keep going.
yeah. Great message. And thank you, Myra. Really, I think this was, a really useful topic because we're all going through it. You know, the world is going through a transition. When you probably watch our other episodes, I recommend that you watch our other episodes when we talk about end world of the ending of the
Yeah,
world.
please.
That would be really, it's actually connected to what we're talking about.
Yeah,
I encourage everyone who's watching, watch our other episodes. They're really informative, funny, um, heartfelt episodes, and I really feel like that we give a lot of ourselves in our episodes. So, anyone who's watching, please like, share, and subscribe to Mind Your Words podcast, and we will see you next time at Mind Your Words After Dark. See ya, Maya.
see ya. And he said, bye.
Bye.